Hey there, and welcome to another Mindful Monday. I'm your girl, Erica T, and I want to bring to you something a little bit different. I'm technically recycling a little bit of the speech that I gave this past Saturday. So if you weren't with me this past Saturday, I had the beautiful honor of speaking at a self-care salon. Now, self-care, as we all know, has so many different facets, and there's so many different things that I could have talked about with regards to self-care. That I really kind of got analysis paralysis, to be honest with you. I kept thinking of a new topic for self-care almost every single day up until maybe a few days before I was actually supposed to speak. And I was nervous because, again, especially with thinking of where I fit in with mindfulness, trauma informed, bringing the ancient wisdom and new age together, there's so many different ways I could have gone with talking about self care, what to do, what not to do, this perspective and ancestral view of self care. And I decided to go with a topic that I'm going to share with you guys tonight. So, if you did have a chance to see me this Saturday, which I know quite a few of you guys didn't, you get a chance to hear about what I talk about. And for those who did see me Saturday, I'm actually going to go into a little bit more as far as the tips and tricks on self care. And I believe that the angle that I chose tonight or and Saturday is a different perspective. You know me, I'm all about sharing different perspectives because it helps us create a wider view, a wider lens, if you will, a greater spectrum of actions to take, right? Where before, when our view is very narrow and focused, we can only see kind of one way and how to handle this particular situation. But when you get multiple views, different tools, what have you, you're able to really tap into your internal wisdom and guidance and figure out what is the best path forward for you. Let's get into it. Let's talk about self care. Why not? So, I want you to imagine that you are expecting a very important phone call. This is a call that maybe you have been waiting for. You've been telling everybody about it. Maybe you're coming into some money or what have you. And you see the phone ring. You know this is the call. This is the call you've been waiting for. But guess what? Instead of answering it, you ignore it. Or maybe you're like me, where you have your phone on do not disturb almost 24/7. Well, basically, anytime I'm in a meeting with clients, of course, I want it on do not disturb. And you miss the call, which means you miss vital information. Maybe you miss a chance to win some money, you miss connecting with an old friend, loved one, etc. Now, I want you to imagine that instead of this very important phone call coming from a friend or, it's maybe a radio station to give you some money, imagine this phone call is coming from your very own body. Yes, that's right, your body. Think about a sigh, heartburn, a pain in your side, murmurs. These are all different ways of our body communicating to us. And so, just like we miss the phone call, we miss vital information, this is what happens when we ignore our own signals to our body. Our body is constantly in communication with us, telling us things, but are we listening? And if you were like me, maybe you thought that self care was just a checklist, but no, I want to tell you today that self care is actually a conversation. For the longest, I really thought that it was just ticking off. Okay, I went to the gym. Okay, I meditated. Okay, we ate right today. Okay, I got 8 hours of sleep. I'm checking off all of these things. Okay, I'm getting a massage, once a month or once a week. I'm doing the things that reflect self-care. Now, there are different areas of self-care, right? There's self-care, the spiritual body, like all of these different areas. But most of us see self-care as a thing to do. And we know that it helps us during stressful times. But what I want to challenge your perspective on is that self care really is about the conversation. It's about our ability to listen to our body and what our body's telling us we need in that moment versus having a list of things that maybe our parents said we should do, society says we should do, our friends say we should do. Maybe you've listened to me on some tips for self-care. I'm like, oh well, Erica's doing this, so this is what I'm gonna do for self-care. But no, it's really about developing the relationship and coming up with this beautiful dialogue, this dance where you're able to listen to whether your body needs to stretch in the moment or move like this, or you need a drink of water, what have you. And so that's why today I want to talk about the art of listening to your body and how this is true self care. This, I would argue that this is really the foundation of self care and how we get tapped in, tuned into our bodies, and create a life that is really what we want. It's really coming and resonating from our values. We can create a more healthy and balanced life when we're able to tune in and tap in. Now, you might be wondering, like, okay, maybe you've heard something like this before, or maybe you don't quite believe me. But so let me break it down for you. Y'all know I got my little biology degree, so I think I know a little something, something. And the master's in public health, but but whatever. This is not a time for me to brag or talk about my accolades. But the human body is such a beautiful thing, and it's a sophisticated machine. We are constantly sending messages to our body all day, every day. And did you know that 80% of the largest nerve in our body, the vagus nerve, the fibers consist of afferent nerve endings, or afferent nerve fibers, if you will. And what that means, afferent means that those are messages coming from our body to our brain. 80%. That means only 20% of the fibers are going from our brain to our body. So what does that tell us? That really just highlights um, the body's significant in the role of informing our own mental health and total well-being. That's right, our bodies. And when we ignore them, which most of us do, I'm raising my hand because there are definitely times I know I'm ignoring my body. When we ignore these messages, we run the risk of serious health disease. I mean, chronic health disease, chronic stress. This stems from neglecting our own body signals when it's time to rest or care. This is linked to so many diseases like cardiovascular disease, stroke, diabetes, mental health issues, obesity. In fact, because I know this and it's been like drilled in my head. Those of you know I have a nonprofit that focuses on raising awareness for childhood trauma. And childhood trauma is the accumulation of toxic stress, essentially, is your body not being able to handle what you went through when you were younger, chronic stress. Do you know that five out of the top 10 leading causes of death, let me repeat that, 5 out of the top 10 leading causes of death can be attributed to stress, chronic stress, which leads to inflammation, which leads to a breakdown in our systems and our bodies? 5, like 5. Not 1, not 2, but 5, at least 50%. And now, because I think that statistic is a little bit old, I'm curious if there's new data out there that says that there's even more data that supports why it's so important for us to be able to navigate stress, to be able to mitigate stress in our lives. And, the consequence of ignoring these messages are severe. Stress is a key factor in many of our lives, which leads to death. And this is especially if you are like me, if you are a minority, sorry to say it, if you my brown and black brothers and sisters, and then those who are just in low resource areas, we experience a higher amount of stress. Now, I don't want to get political uh, and have some people flag me, but we experience it, and Yes, there are systems in place, there are structures in place that repeat cycles from before that we're all under and we have to deal with. Those who know. I'm saying it without saying it. If you've heard of the weathering theory, or if you've not heard of the weathering theory, look it up because this is basically what I'm talking about. So we have higher instances of stress. That's why majority of us have health-related stress illnesses and die at a higher rate than some of our counterparts. But let's take it back, because that's not the route we're going in. We're looking at this from a different perspective, and this is for all of us to be able to benefit. And so, the uh, in what I was talking about there, research says that minorities are disproportionately affected by stress, and it contributes to a higher rate. So that's something you can totally look up. It's not something that I'm just saying. But the other thing about it is that stress, y'all, like I mentioned to the group on Saturday, I said, if you have an idea for stress, if it's a gadget, an invention, a tool, a therapy, whatever it is, you need to put it out there because stress is a $300 billion cost here in just the US. Stress related illnesses, job loss, so many different things. And the economic damage or burden that stress causes is 300, let me say that, 300 billion dollars. Now, I'm saying all this and because I want you to understand the impact that stress has and how our bodies are a key to understanding and mitigating stress in our lives. And I truly want us to be able to embrace the idea or the concept, at least, of the art of being able to listen to your bodies or body cues. You hear somatic. Somatic means you're being able to live in our body. And so much of what we do is external and outside of our bodies, the ability to be able to truly be in our bodies. Now, I will make this caveat for those of us who have experienced trauma in our lives, that could be a very difficult journey. But I promise you, when you get to the other side, that it is so worth it. What you feel in your body and around your body, I can't even explain the bliss and the connection you have to your body when you're able to cultivate these things. So I want to give you some practical tips as always. I want to empower you so that you can listen to your body and not be or fall victim to those of us who are listening to all the other outside noise and chatter, right? What is society? What's our number one asset is our time. Our time is valuable. So if you are spending time, first of all, watching my YouTube, I want to thank you. But if you're spending time on social media, you're spending time at work, these are all taking your attention and they are enforcing or reinforcing or conditioning or imparting some sort of knowledge, if you will, source, I'll say some sort of information to make you act in a certain way. So one, and my very first tip for this is to do a dopamine fast. Now, Erica, you're like, what is a dopamine fast? Aha, I'm glad you asked. A dopamine fast is literally just taking a break from activities that provide that instant gratification. This could be social media. Sorry. This could be a video game. This could be junk food. You get that immediately dopamine hit because that's what it's programmed to do. And with that, you start getting trapped in this cycle. You get in this reward system. And so the dopamine fast can really help you reset your brain's reward system, making it so much more easier for you to connect and listen to your body and understand the subtle signals, because we might think we're listening to our body, but maybe it's the craving for that more dopamine because we just got a hit. We got a like on Instagram. I got some more views or some more subscribers. That is a way that you can start to connect to your body. Now, what I did on Saturday with the group is I did a body scan for them, just setting aside a few minutes. Your body scan could be a minute, literally, or it can be 20 minutes or an hour, whatever you want. Start from the head, go to the toes, vice versa. Just do an open awareness body scan where you allow your body to communicate and maybe start feeling pressure in one area or a pain or a tingling sensation. Figure out, get curious, figure out like what that is. Why is my body signaling in such a way? I have a book, and sorry, I am going to it a book that a friend of mine recommended. It is called The Encyclopedia of Ailments. That book is like magic because what it does is it takes not all ailments, but a vast array of ailments. And you could say, okay, I've got sinusitis, or I've got a pain in my right shoulder. You can look up shoulder, right side pain, and it tells you the underlying emotion. It is so crazy, but it is so right though. It is a complete game changer. So this is another tool that you can leverage to start understanding your body when you start feeling sensations that you haven't felt before. True story, might be a little too TMI for some people, so maybe just fast forward or put me on 2 times. I did in my mindfulness based stress reduction certification course, we had to do a body scan every single day and sometimes at least 2 times a day. And these were 45-minute body scans. Beautiful. But at the end of our course, I was feeling things in my body I ain't never felt before. Now, take that as you will. But if anything can get you to do a body scan, trust and believe you will feel things, honey, that you had never felt, which could be a good thing and a bad thing. I'll make that little caveat. Never felt before. For us women, certain times of the month, I was feeling ovulation. I was feeling all. I was like, okay, yeah, I feel that. Yep. So it's so crazy, but it's a beautiful experience to be able to have that connection with your body. Now, the last thing I will say is keep a body journal. Maintain a record of daily physical sensations that you feel, and then tie that to your energy levels and your emotion states. And so over time, you start to see these patterns emerge that can really, really help you um, understand your body's language, what it's trying to tell you. So if I notice I'm always getting a pain, let's say my lower left back, or maybe it's not a pain, it's a pressure, something that's a little bit different. It's a dull pain, the lower left back. And I'm correlating this to whenever I'm feeling exhausted or I'm feeling frustrated. Then I start putting 2 and 2 together. I'm like, oh, okay, I know what you're trying to tell me. I know what I need to do. I know how I need to communicate back, how I respond, right? A conversation, you have the giver, the messenger, and you have the receiver. That creates the conversation. You can have the messenger, which is what a lot of us have right now, but nobody's there to receive the information because we haven't been taught. So don't feel down on yourself. Don't feel like, oh my God, I've been not listening, and then, now I'm in the hospital. We have not been taught to understand and listen to our bodies, just like we have really not been taught about expressing our emotions. So all in all, to say, I want you to understand that self-care is not about the actions, because why are you doing the action? You need to know why you're doing the action. And so if you are doing the action in response to what you need, I mean, come on, right? It's not about the action. It is about maintaining this beautiful, ongoing conversation. Remember, self-care is not a checklist. It is a conversation. By listening to your body, by responding to what your body needs in that moment, it creates this beautiful relationship, and we're able to achieve healthier, a more balanced life. Remember that, your body is always, 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 always communicating with you. The question is, are you listening? You might be hearing, but are you actually listening? Your body's always talking, but are you listening? I'm, you know, I'm just, I'm just saying, but I'm not saying. I want you guys to be able to not just survive, but thrive. And self care is really the act of listening to your own body's wisdom and you having the ability, the capacity to respond back. All right. I'm your girl, Erica T, the Mindful Mistress on social media. I love you. Thank you so much for joining me this Mindful Monday. Remember, throughout this week, see if you can take some moments for yourself. See if you can try to decipher your body's language. What is communicating to you? Let me know in the comments how you feel about this. Share this with someone you love, someone whose life you think might benefit from this word today. And you have a beautiful rest of the week. See you next week. Bye.